I just realized at some point I was like, this can't go on like that. I was also not getting anything from these situationships, you know?
It's like an empty hole that you keep finding yourself in, and then you just
keep digging.
Fill it back up with the next one. You're like,
keep digging, exactly.
Well. Like if you're going out, even if you're going out on your own with the intention of meeting like male, female, whatever, that's not really dating yourself.
I feel like dating yourself is kind of like a modern buzzword for just what I used to know as self-care.
Mm-hmm.
You just take in some time for yourself to be aware of yourself. I'm getting very spiritual here, but it's like being very much aware of yourself and who you are and who you want to be, but then also that you start to be okay with being alone.
Love doesn't need to be shit.
Your podcast on how to create a healthy relationship with Evie and Ben. Hello.
Hi. My love.
My darling sweet. Isn't it weird to sit again on a sofa in some other random place on another side of the world where we talk about relationships and healthy relationships?
I don't know, because this is my home. It doesn't feel as strange to me. It feels more normal, I think, than it did the other side of the world.
Where are we at the moment?
We are at my mum and dad's house.
So welcome everybody to Evie's home.
Mum was really happy when she got a mention on the podcast before. So now she's like mega famous and she doesn't even know it.
And with these words, welcome to another episode of Why... God, I already fuck it up, man. Welcome to another episode of Love Doesn't Need to Be Shit.
Well done.
Thank you. Today we want to talk about. There's a hair.
I know, it's been there for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to ruin this, but you should really remove that.
Oh,
Your hairs are falling out everywhere. Love.
Honestly, I finally got my man bun, so. As mentioned in one of the first episodes, my hair has become a topic again. So
your hair's always been a topic; it never ends.
Let us know in the comments how do you like my hair.
I've already had a comment from someone you knew.
Oh God, what did they say?
It was something like, "Oh my God, that hair, I can't."
That sounds like someone is in awe with my hair.
Yes, love. If that's how you'd like to take it,
isn't it?
The beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, you're such a wanker. Okay, so today we want to talk about one part of the relationship, as we've discussed in episode 3. It was the you, me, and the we in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Today it's all about the me in a relationship.
Thought it always was with you, darling.
Isn't it? And I want to start with a little example.
Yeah.
Right. I think
Story
it's quite relatable, I believe. So I think we all know these people that are in a relationship, right? And then they tell you all about their perfect relationship, how great it is, how much in love they are, how they do everything together, right? And then like you see them next time, maybe half a year later, and you're like, so what's up? Oh, split up. Like, what? Yeah, separated. Didn't work. You're like, all right. Like, you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. I found this new bird.
She's perfect.
We're so in love with each other.
I don't know why I thought I was in love before.
Honestly, and you're like, oh, cool. Like, I'm really happy for you. You know, like, it sounds perfect, but don't you feel like it's a bit rushed? Nah.
Now we moved in together.
Nah. No, she's perfect, or he is perfect. Like, we're literally, she or he is the love of my life, and you're like, that sounds great. Like, I support that. I support love and relationships, right? But then, you know, we're not always aware that we maybe haven't found the love of our lives.
Mr. Been in love how many times?
Me?
Yeah.
Quite a few times. And you?
Not so many.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we go through life, and for some reason, we have this weird misconception that even though we grow older and we make all of these experiences and we grow and we develop, that we still think we keep being the same person. But that's not true. We develop ourselves, and this is why we should date ourselves before we get into another relationship, even if you're in a relationship.
Or also even if you're single and don't plan on getting in a relationship.
Exactly. Okay. I want to start off with something else. We haven't talked about this yet.
No, we were meant to talk about this before we actually sat down to record, and then we get so distracted by all of the equipment, and then we forget to actually discuss our preparation.
Yeah.
Okay,
love, this is on air. Like, guys, this is super live. Let me know what you think about it. So
sure.
we had this like these categories that we initially were called Community Quest and Community Question, and we renamed them. And the first one is Tell Me Your Shit, right? So where we tell, we would like to hear basically the stories of our listeners, right? And I thought, why don't we start with why don't we lead with a good example?
What, of our story?
Yeah, why don't we start to tell our shit?
Okay.
And then maybe and hopefully this inspires our listeners to share their shit.
Okay.
What do you think?
I would need an example of what your shit is.
All right. So today we talk about how to date yourself, right? Or all about the date yourself thing. So I would now share a story about how I maybe fucked up not dating myself. What do you think?
Oh, not dating yourself, not about how you did it well.
Well, the category is called Tell Me Your Shit. So it's not about tell me your rainbow story and the beautiful happy ending.
No, sometimes shit just to me means things. Like, share your shit.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, we're going for the fuck ups.
What do you think?
Yeah,
First of all,
I mean...
It's an open question, like suggestion. What do you think?
I think we try it. We see how good your storytelling is.
Okay, so when I was in my early 20s, I didn't know what I wanted, right? So I basically just started dating, and I had a lot of dates with a lot of different women. And it felt really nice and pleasing because I could get all the love and all the affection from an external source, right? It's really comfortable as well. But then the more and more these, let's call them relationships, although in hindsight they weren't really, developed, I realized, wasn't for me, you know? And I kept being in that cycle of like, yeah, but maybe this person just didn't fit to me, you know. I think this is not what I wanted. So I kept having like kind of like relationships. What you call them? Like acquaintances, situationships, acquaintances.
I don't know. You need to explain the situation.
Yeah.
How was it? Were you acting like you were in a relationship? Were you just dating? Were you just sleeping together? Were you dating several people?
No. Not dating several people, but it's more like too short to call it a relationship, but also then sometimes too like not intimate to be a relationship.
So we have this phase in England where we call it seeing each other. So sometimes you'll date and it's like a casual date you'll go on. And then if it moves past that and you're kind of dating someone regularly, you might go over to their house, you might make dinner together, you might stay over, but it's not official yet. Like you've not really established that you're boyfriend and girlfriend and you've entered that next level of maturity. You're just in this in-between phase. So we'd say you're seeing someone.
Yeah. So yeah, I was seeing
You were
not
seeing
only
a lot of people.
I saw a lot of people. I was seeing a lot of people. And eventually I realized like this could not go on like that.
What made you realize?
Well, at some point I realized it was just, it's kind of like like if it's just a pattern, a repeating pattern. Like I met someone, I'd be like, oh my God, this person is so interesting. Like, ooh, really flattering, like all of that. And then you get into seeing each other, and then you have sex with each other and you're like, ooh, everything's so exciting. And then the first thing appears where you'd be like, that's a bit off-putting, you know? But like, you kind of don't know before, you know?
Yeah.
And then it all starts to become less and less attractive and less like you actually want it. So this is what happened to me. And then I usually would end the relationship or the situationship or the seeing each other, however you would call it. And yeah, I just realized at some point, I was like, this can't go on like that. I was also not getting anything from these situationships, you know?
It's like an empty hole that you keep finding yourself in, and then you just
and keep digging.
Fill it back up with the next one. You're like,
keep digging,
oh,
exactly.
Well, yeah, okay.
It's like pouring acid into a hole. You think you fill it, but actually the acid is like
burning it out.
And keep digging, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, eventually I realized like something needs to change here. Like this can't go on like that. And this is where I started to sit down and basically what is now known as dating yourself. So I started to date myself.
How old were you?
I would say this was somewhere around 23, maybe.
Still quite young to have established this.
23, 24.
Okay.
Around that phase. Like it took me quite some time, but I would say 23,
No, I still
24,
think that's quite young to realise. Like I think most people realise when they're like after 25.
Maybe. Or was I?
Anyway, it's not important.
Yeah, but somewhere around there. I definitely after 22 and definitely before 27, I would say. Somewhere in between. And yeah, started to date myself. What do you call or what do you understand when I say, what images come into your mind when I say I dated myself?
Yeah, but I know one of the examples that you have, which also this doesn't even apply because one of the examples you told me was that you started to go places on your own because you wanted to, but you ended up going to this place and then like chatting up a load of girls.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really count.
No, it didn't work.
But that doesn't count as dating yourself. No. In my opinion.
Oh, no.
Like if you're going out, even if you're going out on your own with the intention of meeting like male, female, whatever, that's not really dating yourself. Like images of dating yourself to me are like taking yourself for dinner on your own or a coffee date or like going to a museum because you want to do that. Those kind of things. Or even love a good solo trip. Love a little holiday.
Yeah. I think my dating or the dating of myself had a lot to do with just going to go and do yoga and sports by myself, like in groups, but I didn't know any one of these groups and I just wanted to be there for myself and by myself, like focusing on myself. I didn't want to be in anyone's company, if that makes sense. And another bit would have been to just go on coffee dates with myself, basically, you know, or to go in Zurich's big lake, beautiful. If you have time, go there. And I would go to the lake and just lay there and read, you know, just basically Honestly, just taking time.
But do you know
for
what's so
myself.
funny to me? I've been doing those kind of things my entire life. And like, I wouldn't say that any of those bits, I would say maybe the coffee thing, but everything else, like taking a book somewhere and just sitting and reading, or like going to a yoga class because I want to, or any of those kind of things. I feel like maybe, like, especially in British society, like, sometimes, and especially for guys, that's probably more unheard of. But for a lot of us, like, we do a lot of these activities anyway, but we've never thought about them. Like, but then there's still somewhere it's like people be like, oh, I wouldn't do that on my own, like go for dinner.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I ever went for dinner, like just with myself.
I've never done it in
myself.
England. I've never done it at home.
Yeah.
But I do it loads when I'm abroad, and I love it.
I mean, I did it when I did go on spa holidays just by myself. That was also really, really good.
That's a little date weekend.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think the important part, or the differentiation, I think, exists between just like, oh, I've done this my whole life, and actually dating yourself, is that you reflect on your past events and your present experience of life. Like, that is what I think makes the difference between just like, I'm having leisure activities and I actually want to grow.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's also taking those activities that you normally would go, oh, I'd really like to do that, but like, I don't have anyone to go with, or, oh, I wish I had a boyfriend so I could do this thing, and going, no, fuck it, like, go do it anyway.
So that is dating yourself.
I don't think it's just that, but I think that's a big lens that changes it between doing activities and actually dating yourself.
Interesting. I feel like dating yourself is kind of like a modern buzzword for just what I used to know as self-care. Mm-hmm. It's like you just take in some time for yourself to basically sit down, to be aware of yourself. Oh my God, I'm getting very spiritual here, but it's like being very much aware of yourself and who you are and who you want to be, but then also that you start to be okay with being alone. So that you don't need anyone else, like no energy, no, what do you call it?
You can give yourself everything that you need. You don't need to find that externally.
Yeah, you don't need any stimuli, any external stimulus that makes you feel worthwhile, but you can actually do this yourself. I think that is basically what I feel like means dating yourself, basically. But there's some more things to it.
Oh, tell me.
Okay, so it's not just being comfortable with being by yourself, but also being comfortable with being by yourself and doing things by yourself. Mm-hmm. As we've just said, having a dinner by yourself, going to a spa weekend by yourself, stuff like that. But then also, and this is the reflection part of it, where I think this makes the difference between I'm just having a bit of me time, another kind of buzzword, mm-hmm. and dating yourself, is that you start to ask yourself a couple of questions like, how am I feeling? Do I feel stressed? Is my work life balanced? Do I sleep properly? Have I met my friends more regularly or in a regular way I wanted to? How is my social life? And am I getting outside frequently enough? Things like that. It seems very basic, but it's quite important to ask yourself these questions sometimes.
Yeah, I think they're a standard part of, not a standard part of self-development, because I don't think a lot of people do these things. And I think that also means you don't have to go and do an activity to date yourself. It's more taking that time to get to know yourself better, as you would if you were dating a partner and you were trying to get to know them better.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like the same thing, like the same purpose, but just on yourself. Internally. So what you would do with when you meet someone else, you just do it for yourself, kind of. Does that include any questions?
Like, would I ask myself any questions?
Yeah, just like when you say, well, you think it's basically what you do when you meet someone new, but basically to yourself.
Yes, but it's also like, I think into what a problem and a pattern that a lot of us fall into, like myself included in my 20s, is you go and date someone and you're not really asking those kind of questions. You're just like, oh, what kind of hobbies do you like? And you'd be like, oh my God, that person's so cool. They're so attractive. They're so funny. Like when people be like, what do you want in a partner? And like, you're looking for these more superficial things, I think, to start off with. The more time you spend asking yourself deeper internal questions, like, what are my actual values? What do I actually want from my life? What genuinely makes me happy? What doesn't? What am I doing for myself versus what am I doing for other people? Which is where part of that dating comes in, and finding those activities that you like. The more you understand those things about yourself, I think then when you're actually dating, you have a better understanding of what's important to you, and you can start to navigate that path slightly differently, as opposed to, oh my God, they're so fit and like fit. Oh. I'm like, this is what I used to say. I would never say that anymore. Like, oh, he was so attractive and so funny, and like, oh my God, he paid for my dinner. Like, that's not important long term.
I really agree with that. I wrote down here like that dating yourself is about getting to know yourself better, and understanding your needs, desires, and aspirations in a better way.
Sounds like an end of year appraisal.
And treating yourself with the same love and respect you would give a partner.
So for you, 0.
None. Inexistent.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's also that element of one of the points that you said earlier, which was more around how can you not just rely on someone else to give you something and give yourself what you need. So if you've not been used to spending that much time on your own, or if you've never figured out what you need. So for example, like when I moved and started living on my own, I'd get to a weekend and I'd be like, oh my God, like everyone else has plans and I don't have plans. And to start off with, I'd feel so like lonely, and so I'd be like, oh God, it's like I don't have any friends. But I deliberately wouldn't have made plans that weekend because I knew I was like, I want a bit of time out, but I hadn't learned about how to handle myself in those scenarios. And then you might start to feel lonely, and then you'd be like, oh, I could just jump on a dating app and like go for a date this weekend or whatever, as a way to fill time and to get this external, oh, I'm going to get this from someone else. And then when I stopped, not even like I did that much, because I'd go on a dating app and then say hi to a bunch of people and then be like, oh, I can't be bothered with this. So then I had to learn how to go, okay, well, how can I figure out what I need to give myself this weekend? So is it that I need a bit of downtime? Is it that I need some self-reflection? Do I want to go out and have fun? Like starting to ask yourself those questions so you can work out what you need, so you become less reliant on expecting you in a relationship to now give me that, where I can be like, well, cool, like you've got your plans for today. I know that I need this, so I'm going to go give myself this even now.
Yeah, that's basically the added value you get from the experience of dating yourself in a relationship, right? I think it's very important that even out of a relationship, when you're single, you date yourself and do all of these bits, and that you try to do these, that you dare to go out by yourself, because we're socially so conditioned to just always have something going on that is exciting, and like with someone else, and like if it's not, we're not cool enough, we're not in the inner circle, whereas it should be totally okay. It should be okay to be like, no, just went by myself and I had some reflections on my life, and everyone should be like, wow, that's even
that's
more
cool. Like,
valuable.
I'm actually, instead of being like, oh, like how embarrassing, it's more like, oh, I wish I could do that.
What a pity. Yeah, exactly. It should be like, oh, wow. Like, I really...
That's inspirational.
That is very inspirational, yeah. Oh, yeah. What if you don't... or why is self-care so important? So why is dating yourself so important before you start a relationship?
Okay, a few different bits. So I'm really conscious that I shouldn't put my feet on this sofa. So
being at your mom's place again.
Yeah. So I think there's probably 2, maybe 3 main factors. I think one is that you, like I said before, the more you can get to know yourself, the more you realize your own values, what's important to you, what you actually like, what you don't like, as opposed to just going along with crowds all of the time. That allows you to then work out what you want to source in a relationship going forwards. I think, like you said before, especially as you grow up so fast and you do evolve and you do change, it gives you that opportunity to do that evolvement and do that changing, and not just pick a partner that's based on, oh, I kind of like them, but pick a partner based on, this is someone that's going to help me become the person that I want to be and help me become the better version of myself, because I know what I want to step into. So having that time to yourself, having that reflection time, that all helps with that. And then I think the second main part is that you really learn that you don't need to be reliant on someone else. So as opposed to looking for a relationship to fill the gaps, you look for a relationship to be an addition, because you know that actually you've created this amazing life for yourself and you found all of these things that you love, that you're happy to do on your own, and you can really be self-fulfilling, that you don't need someone else, and like you don't need them. So then with that comes the ability to set your standards, understand your self-worth, set your boundaries, because you know that you already have so much value. You're not just looking for a relationship as escapism. I think they're the 2 main factors in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, escapism is a good keyword here. I wrote down, it's so important so you don't lose yourself in a relationship. And it's like, if you go in a relationship without having done the work before, like dating yourself, it's kind of like a bit of work too, isn't it? When you go in a relationship without having done that, you maybe will often realize too late, like I did, that this is not what you want. So you actually figure out what you want before you go into a relationship. And it's, I wrote down, you don't end up like Play-Doh. You know, like you're Play-Doh in someone else's hand.
Yeah, you're super malleable.
Imagine you go in, like if one person goes into a relationship having not done the date yourself work, and the other person had, and they come together in a relationship, who do you think is more mature and more dominant? The person will lead that knows what he or she wants.
Yeah, and the other person will just go along with it because they think that's what a relationship is.
And that is maybe what he or she wants you to.
Yeah, and it's also that element of, once you get into a relationship, knowing that actually we still have differences. So one of the worst things that can happen, and this is when I think you can become super malleable, is when you might know you like something, but then you'll go and like your partner might not like it, and then it's not fun for you because it sucks the joy out of the experience. And then you'll be like, oh, maybe it's not. If you've not got that self-confidence to know that actually it's important for you to like your own things, you'll be like, oh, okay, well, like if they don't like it, I just won't do that, because you have this expectation that to be in this relationship, you need to do everything together and do what each other likes. But even in our relationship, like there's a bunch of things where I'm like, yeah, cool, like you go do that because you're going to enjoy that and I'm not, and the same vice versa. But it's having that understanding to say, well, actually that's a benefit in our relationship because we both know what we enjoy and we can give ourselves that without fearing that our relationship isn't working, because we've dated ourselves and we have that acceptance that I have some values that you might not share.
100%. The interesting part, I think, is that this whole principle of dating yourself is also applicable to how to find a job. Because if you are seeking a job and you haven't done the work of what do I actually want, like which job does is making me happy or interests me, or what are the strengths I could put into a certain position, you will end up in a miserable situation where you start a new job and then after a few weeks you realize this is hell because you just didn't know what you actually wanted. You maybe read a description. It's like seeing someone that looks fit, in quotes unquote, and you start a relationship and then you realize, oh no.
I have this all of the time. So for anyone that doesn't know, I do career coaching, and and so many people come to me and they'll be like, oh, I've been offered this job and this job, like which one should I take? And often they'll be like, this one pays better and this one's like a big brand to put on my CV, and that can have its advantages, right? But it's always the first question I always ask everyone is, what are your values? What do you want to get from this career move? Where do you see yourself going longer term? And if you know those things, it makes those decisions so much easier, because you can say, well, actually, this one's going to give me this. That one might not give me that, but it's a good stepping stone. And I think dating should be the same anyway. Like, even once you've been dating yourself, sometimes it's treating dating like an experiment. So I don't think you have to solely go and figure out your life for 6 months and then come back to dating. I think you can do both, if it's with that conscious element of saying, okay, I'm not just going to run into the next thing that comes my way. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use this as an experiment to say, this is what I think I want. Like, let me see how this plays out in this scenario. And if it doesn't work out, cool. But you have to do that thinking about what you want.
Yeah, I think so too. When I thought about the whole dating yourself concept, I also thought about how we sometimes just, like, maybe you listeners and viewers out there can relate with that. I strongly do. Sometimes when you work in a corporation or in a company where you have to present something to your boss, and you start, like, you think about the idea, like you craft the whole thing, the concept, how you would actually go about it and all of that, right? And then you pitch this whole project. And your boss can sometimes sit there like Caesar and either show you the thumbs up or thumbs down. You know, it's like yes or no, but that's all. There's no contribution. And I think this is also what happens when you are not doing the date yourself work and you go into a relationship. You pass on this responsibility of actually putting the work in to the other person, because you're like, well, we'll see, you know, like you didn't think about it. So you're just like, so who are you? Oh, okay. No, I don't like that. Go away. Okay. So this is your value. It could also be my value. Okay. What else do you have? Okay. Yeah. Maybe could take that on to something else. No. Yeah. Maybe then not. You know, instead of just looking at someone and be like copy pasting it, kind of like taking the fast but wrong way, not having done the work yourself. Yeah. And just attributing this responsibility or outsourcing this responsibility.
Yeah. And then, honestly, like, so this was such a common pattern for not just me, like me and my friends in our 20s, especially I think from a female point of view, is that we would just kind of date anyone, and then we wanted them to like us. It was like this, not even external validation, but so many times I'd have a conversation with one of my friends and we'd be like, oh yeah, this guy either like ghosted me or kind of blew it off. And like, I didn't even like him that much anyway. He was a bit of a dickhead with this, and like, I didn't really like that. But we'd be so devastated because we were the ones that had been rejected. Yeah. And we hadn't created that confidence or that ability to stand our own ground and say like, no, I don't actually want this. So much of our 20s was about getting someone else to like us, as opposed to it being the other way around. And I think the turning point for everyone was that point where we actually went and spent more time on our own and we like dated ourselves and could come back and say, no, like instead of me going into a relationship now and saying, do I like them? I can go into this relationship now and say, like, do they bring certain values? Do they make me feel a certain way?
Or do we share values?
Yeah.
Do we share interests? Yeah.
And then say, yeah, or, oh no. Like, I would say that I didn't start rejecting anyone myself until maybe I was like, well, that's not completely true, but there was the odd scenario when I was younger, but just based off things that were absolute, like, this is a no-go. But once you got into that kind of seeing people scenario, I wouldn't say that I really started rejecting people until I was like 27, 28.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we all fell in that pattern of like wanting to be liked.
Yeah.
As opposed to knowing ourselves enough to be able to make that call about whether that should progress or not. Like, guys were a lot better at being like, this isn't going to work. And they were never wrong. Like, but you were always just hurt by it because you were looking for that external validation.
Yeah, it's more like the fairy tale vibes.
Yeah, even if it was never going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we just crave love so much that we are blind to reality.
Sometimes I think it's the opposite. It's not the craving of love. It's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of not being loved. Whereas once you learn to date yourself and love yourself and show up for yourself, that fear completely goes away because you know your standards and what you're looking out for.
Sweet. Guys, quick introduction, quick break here. Don't forget, we put a lot of work in this podcast. We try to show up for you guys. We try to make this date with all of you people happen. So please make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.
Yeah, let's grow this conversation.
Exactly. Thank you very much for everyone that is supporting us.
Thanks, fans. But no, honestly, I'm like, good feedback from everyone so far. So the more people we can get engaged in the conversation, I think the more we can spread some healthy conversations on relationships.
100%. Now I would like to progress a little bit further. I would like to go to our so-called Fuck It toolkit, where we share the tools to make the things happen we talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you actually date yourself? Like, if you're a newbie into this concept, how would you start?
As a complete newbie, what I would do is not even worry about getting into the reflection part to start off with. I would just be asking myself, what you first have to do is carve out some time for yourself. So you don't fill your diary with loads of external factors. Take one day, even one day a month, and say, okay, on that day, I'm just going to wake up and see how I feel and go and start trying to give myself something. Or if there's something that you've like always wanted to do, but you've been too scared to do it because you feel like you need to do it with someone else, like make it a mission to go out and do that thing this month. Just one tiny step, one tiny experiment. See how you get on. It gets more comfortable with time. In fact, now sometimes I prefer having dinner on my own to dinner with you.
She's joking, okay? She is joking. I'm not such a bad person. Please. No, she is preferring dinners by herself.
I mostly prefer them with you.
That is true. Okay.
And you? What would be your number one step?
Okay, so I would advise someone that is a newbie to dating yourself with three basic things.
Oh, no number one step here.
3 basic things.
That's cheating.
The first one
is
delete all your dating apps.
Fair.
That's the first step. The second step is stop with one night stands.
Fair.
And the third one is start focusing on yourself. Like, honestly, really basic. It sounds so obvious, but it helps.
No, I agree. I was questioning whether I think you need to go that extreme because like I said before, I think you can date at the same time as dating yourself. I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. But I do think if you're in a scenario, if you find that you are looking for external validation, then yes, those steps definitely mean that you can take that time to focus on yourself as opposed to always seeking it from elsewhere.
From my perspective as a former
serial one-night stander.
Yeah. Validation seeker. I just think having done that, it's just distraction. You're just seeking for distraction. And totally, like, you are reaching your goal. You are distracting yourself from yourself. So this is why I would, anyone who wants to actually grow and evolve, advise that.
Yeah.
But there's more to that. Once you are committed to date yourself, I would go on with some things on how to actually focus on yourself. And the first thing is to be with yourself and kind of like to start feeling comfortable with just yourself. Like
that also means like not being on your phone.
Yeah, true.
Like we all use that as a distraction if we're like waiting for a train or we're picking up dinner or whatever. Like sometimes I'm like, put your phone on airplane mode. Like totally leave it at home and go and feel comfortable just being present on your own.
Yeah. I wrote down some things, how you can be with yourself, and there are like different aspects to it. And one is what you've already said, spend quality time alone. Do some yoga or like read a book or like have a dinner or go to a museum. I mean, we're all over 30, right?
Hopefully not everyone listening is over 30.
Our audience number says majority is over 30. We're not relevant to the youngsters. Like, or take a solo trip to anywhere, just be with yourself.
Yeah, pick something that you will enjoy, that you want to do, and that could literally be anything.
Second thing you also already mentioned, pursue your interests. Whether it's like you've always were curious on how, like, gardening.
Give us a like if you like gardening.
Learning a new language, like just painting. Honestly, some friends of mine started this
paint by numbers.
No. The other bit with this guy that always paints, the redhead with the afro redhead.
I have no idea what you're on about.
Yeah, okay, no.
That reference is totally not resonating with me.
Okay. The third one is to treat yourself.
Like take yourself for a massage.
Exactly.
Here for that.
Manicure, pedicure, like.
Yeah, I love it now.
But even like whatever it is, like as hard as you can be as a man, everyone loves a bloody good massage. I can tell you.
I thought you were going to say pedicure. I was looking at your feet this morning. I was like, you really need another pedicure.
Yeah, pedicure, manicure as well. Honestly, your feet are such an important part of feeling relaxed.
Yes.
I feel like.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I'm laughing because you went all spiritual at the start and now you're talking about the power of the foot.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I'm not a very spiritual person, okay? But there's some truths in certain things.
Even, you don't even have to go anywhere. You don't even have to spend money. Like even just giving yourself a bath and a face mask and a hair mask. Like that's a little date night in itself.
Or just like if you're one of these foodie type of, like I'm talking more to the boys, yeah? Because we're not prone to have a mask.
Not just the boys. I love going out and cooking, buying a bunch of stuff in the market, planning a nice meal for myself, bringing back fresh ingredients and like cooking myself a date night kind of dinner.
Exactly. Or even like ordering dinner,
Okay, now you're talking to the boys, no, I'm joking.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you're not a big cooker, like there are other ways to make that happen. Like have a proper good date night. And if you feel more comfortable, even go to a restaurant, you know, a good pizzeria or anything. And it doesn't need to be super fancy, but it's like just being with you and starting to feel comfortable with yourself. Okay. Another thing is, it's quite similar to the other bits, but do things that feel good to you. To me, it's like skateboarding. I don't know. It's just when I want to retreat, I also go skateboarding or for a run. That just feels good to me. You know, it's just like gives me a different feeling. It's not trying new things it's not about being with myself. It's about feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bit of a difference. At the beginning, this will feel uncomfortable, but we'll get better with time.
Yeah. I remember even when I signed up for my gym that's like opposite my flat in Manchester, when I signed up and I had to walk in and everyone knew each other, I would have anxiety about going there for the first 2 weeks. I was always like trying to work out the exact timing that I could turn up where I wouldn't really have to socialize beforehand, but I wouldn't be late. So because I was so embarrassed that I was like going to this gym on my own and that I didn't have friends. And then I made friends, but then now sometimes I'm like, I don't want to speak to anyone. I want to turn up and just work out and be on my own. And like I say, the uncomfortableness probably lasted 2 weeks. But then now the more that I do these different activities, I'm like, yeah, of course I'm coming on my own. Like, I'm not embarrassed. I'm like, the people that might be looking at me being like, oh my God, she's here on her own. I'm like, you're the ones that should be embarrassed because you've not learned how to enjoy your own company. But it takes that practice and that like feeling a bit sick and anxious and stepping out of your comfort zone to overcome it. Like, we've all been there.
Don't get me wrong. I've been there so many times. I used to live in Geneva once, and I went out by myself. I didn't know anyone. Like, Geneva is one of these cities where everyone comes to work during daytime. It's quite busy. And then after 6 o'clock, everyone left, and there's nothing going on except for if you know people. And it's hard to get to know people, especially when they speak French, but that's another thing. And I was just like, well, kind of want to have social interaction, so I'll just go to a bar. So just went to a bar by myself, went in there, and there was some sort of like, not party, but some weird happening going on. I thought like, oh, all right. So I'm like, went to the bar, ordered a beer, stood around a little bit lost, and then I was like, God damn it, Ben, you can do this. So I went over to this table, right? And I was like...
Was it a table of girls?
No.
I was going to say, that's not really dating yourself.
No, it's mixed.
Still, yeah, okay.
And then I was like, can I sit with you guys? And they were like, are you here by yourself? And that very question hit me so hard because I had to face the truth and the reality. And I was like, yes, I am here by myself. Is it okay? And they were like, that's great.
Yeah.
They really appreciate. They were like, of course you can sit down. And I was like, oh, thank you. I just tell you guys that to let you know, people are actually like praising that, appreciating that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, kind of in some ways, what's the worst that can happen if someone's like, oh no, sorry, like we're hanging out as mates, like I've not seen these guys for a while. Like, okay, cool. And then it's kind of, yeah, it might hurt to start off with, but you get used to getting quote unquote rejected, but going, oh, that's not so bad. Like, if that's your biggest fear, and then once it happens, it's like, oh, okay.
I feel like being or feeling rejected, men are a bit more experienced than women, just because I feel like maybe that has changed now, but traditionally men are usually the instigators that try to
date a female or a male.
To pull girls. To chat up girls, and then we get rejected. Or maybe it was just me. Okay.
Still getting rejected now.
Okay. So these are the 5 things, or like a few things that you can do to be with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then also, if you really are about to date yourself, I think it's very important that you should start to think about your values and the values you value from other people and the values your friend value from you. It's a lot of value in
That's
there.
a lot of value. But is that so it's like there's one element which I think is the activity of taking yourself on dates and doing stuff that you've wanted to do and like building that confidence. And then I think the second part is the part you said at the beginning, which is don't just do it completely mindlessly of doing things. Like the other main advantage is using it as that reflection time, getting to know yourself better and getting to know better what you want from relationships, but like your life in general. Deep.
So deep. Yeah. After that, the structure doesn't really is important. Reflect about the present. Is what I said at the beginning.
Just laughing by Ben's step-by-step sequence to dating yourself. We'll have a free handbook on offer soon if you want one.
Yeah. Just we'll give you bank details and then we're all good. No, but reflect about the present. How am I feeling? Like what can I do to not like to relieve stress if I feel stress? Like all of these things, like where am I at the moment? Where is what's my life feeling like? Very spiritual again, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, you're on a sofa, mate.
But yeah, like reflect about the present. And the next thing, of course, if you reflect about the present is
thinking about what you want from your future.
No, it's reflecting about the past. Duh.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, reflect about the past. Think about how you were in the past, how you have developed, and what your relationships were like. And maybe if they're like, think about how they started and think about how they ended, and maybe you realize there is some underlying pattern that you should start to be aware of, and maybe then as well change. Yeah, these were my tips, my practical tips for the Fuck It toolkit for anyone that is serious about dating themselves.
Yeah, I'm literally going through all of my notes in my phone because maybe I found it. I'm not like, yeah, I've got so many notes about dating in my phone, but at one point when I was dating myself, I had some therapy sessions with a therapist when I was single, and I've heard other people that have done this as well, and they're like, it's the best thing you could ever do. And so much of that time was like, yes, dating myself, but was like asking these kind of questions about what I wanted. And then as I was trying to find that, I found so many other notes, which have been times where I've been on my own dates, where it's like me reflecting about what I want from life. But yeah, it's like so many of the things that I've got written down here are things like working out what you actually find attractive in someone else, not just in terms of looks, but in terms of other things. Working out what I actually like in person, working out what my boundaries are, like working out what I need.
Yeah.
I have so many different notes on these kind of things, and it's like you can just keep growing that file of things that are important to you.
Yeah, and I think you should, like this should be your, either whether you write it down or you keep it internally, but it should be a present file or a present note within yourself that is and should be adapted and altered. Like every time you feel like, you're not the same person you used to be 5 years ago. Yeah,
keep doing that reflection and constantly use it as a checklist to refer back to, and whether you think you're in line with what you actually want.
So, dating yourself. Why doing that faff?
I don't know what's happened to some of your grammar. Like, you just miss out some words in a sentence. Why are you doing that faff?
How would you say it?
Like, oh, why are you faffing around with even dating yourself?
Yeah.
That put me under pressure.
What's that faff about? It's probably more.
Why faff with dating yourself?
Why even faffing with dating yourself? Why even faff with dating yourself?
Okay.
The grammar lesson's over now. So why? I tell you why. No, go on.
Do you remember when my mum said that you come across like the dominant one in our conversations?
Yeah. Do you feel that way right now?
I did just then. She has a point.
Good.
Why bother doing it? I really think the main advantages are, one, regardless of relationships or anything else, you will create a more fulfilled, happy, purposeful life for yourself, because A, you'll be doing things that you actually want to do and enjoy, and you'll be figuring out what they are and refining them. B, you'll be getting to know yourself better, so you continue to do those things. So instead, no matter what else is going on externally in your life, already the stuff that you can control yourself and control internally, it's going to be elevated, and you're going to enjoy your own life a lot more.
I want to add there, aside from your things, which I would very much agree with, is to whether or not you realize you're ready for a new relationship.
Going back to the point you made right at the beginning.
Exactly.
Instead of just jumping from one to another.
Yeah. So you start to realize that maybe if you haven't figured out the questions for yourself, you're not ready for any questions you want to ask anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything we've forgotten?
No, I don't think there's anything else that I'd like to add to this one. As per ever, you could take these things in so many different angles and cover off.
Guys, if you have anything to add here, leave a comment, write us a message on our website, on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you feel like it. You'll always see the different channels we're at, or we're active on, in the descriptions, in the show notes, wherever this might be. Yeah, keep following us and support us. Thank you, guys. Anything else, Lauren?
No, that was lovely. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
And see you next time. Well done.
For what?
For saying goodbye properly.
That was way better, eh? I'm growing.